Muy buenas noches, mi gente. Aquí estamos como todos los martes. Hoy, día especial, tenemos un programa especial con ustedes. Hoy es el programa número 45. Ya vamos casi a cumplir los 2 años haciendo el live todos los martes. Y gracias a ustedes que siempre se quedan con nosotros y nos ayudan, pues hemos podido continuar. Les dije la semana pasada que íbamos a tener una sorpresa esta semana, y obviamente la sorpresa se me quemó a mitad de semana por una foto que subió el invitado montándose en el avión saliendo para Puerto Rico, y pues ya todo el mundo adivinó quién era. So we have today a special guest, Mr. Sean Smith. Sean, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you very much.
This is the visit number what to Puerto Rico? Because you have been here many times.
At least 20, 25 times.
20, 25 times.
Yeah. First time was 1998, maybe, the BCI convention.
I remember that one.
Yeah, and then all the major shows you had before that, and then I started coming here
Regularly.
on a yearly basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's check this. Se supone que las personas que nos están oyendo, nos están viendo, puedan ver el closed caption o puedan poner en el, no sé cómo se hace en Facebook, pero ustedes pueden poner para que lo que nosotros hablemos en inglés, ustedes lo puedan tener en español. ¿Cierto, Amanda? Así que vamos a tratar de ver si funciona el closed caption para que ustedes puedan seguirnos la conversación que vamos a tener hoy, porque vamos a hablar de muchas cosas. So your first visit you say was approximately 98. I'm sure of that. I think it was 98.
Yes.
That was BCI convention and PhilAP convention also. It was together.
Yeah, it was a joint convention.
It was a joint
and
convention.
I think Shinji Suzuki might have been the headliner.
In 98, I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Well, it was when
Sean,
Phillips
let's be clear here.
Okay.
I'm an old guy.
I'm an old guy.
So I don't remember that.
So then it doesn't matter. We don't even need to talk about
just say 98. Forget about who was the speaker.
Okay.
You were there.
Okay.
Muy bien.
Muy bien.
Okay.
Muy bien.
Then, but you come here not as a bonsai artist.
No.
You come here for suiseki.
I did, yes.
Good.
Initially.
But you do bonsai.
Of course.
You begin with bonsai.
That was first and foremost, yeah.
So you do bonsai before you do suiseki and suiseki carving.
Yeah. Yes, I did.
And your teacher, who you learn from?
Myself.
You learn by yourself.
Yeah, pretty much self-taught.
And then, how do you get involved into suiseki?
At the time, I was working at a bonsai nursery in Harrisburg, and a gentleman handed me some stones he had brought back from China, and you said, "Have you ever made a wooden base or a daisa for suiseki?" And I never knew what they were called, actually. So anyway, I said, well, I can give it a try. Up to that point, I was making display tables and things like that, so woodworking was kind of right down the alley.
So you were working on wood carving or tables and that?
Yeah, I was doing display tables in 1994. 1994.
Could you put your microphone up instead of down? So that means that you have to
Okay, is that better?
turn. I think check your little thing. It has a volume control, or maybe Diego could check that there. It's okay. Check now. Try
Okay,
it.
Testing. Testing 1, 2, 3. Hello. Okay. Well,
anyway, good.
You're 5 feet from me.
Now, then how do you get involved with the daisa carving? You went to Japan to study daisa carving, or you went to Japan to study bonsai?
A little of both.
Both?
But I was carving daisas in 1994, I didn't get to Japan to my first time till 2000, and after that, then the connection started to take place, meeting certain people and introducing me to certain people, and that's where I met Shinji Morimai.
That's your master.
That's my master. That's my teacher. Yep.
Good. How long you been in? How long you stay there in Morimaes?
Well, it wasn't a traditional
6 year now. I
5 year.
know you
Yeah.
go many times.
You know, yeah. So I've been to Japan over 18 times,
And every time you go, you spend time there.
exactly, and it can be 3 months, it can be 2 months, it can be a month, it can be a week. It depends on my schedule, his schedule. Actually, this February I'm going for the entire month of February, so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Then, you make the Darza carving, and last year you come to Puerto Rico for the national show.
Yes.
You do a Daisa Suiseki presentation,
Yes.
and you do display.
Display. Correct.
And you do the
Critique.
scroll
The scroll class. Yeah.
class, and you do a critique. Okay, now
Right.
you're coming back this year, next year.
Yes.
You are coming back next year.
Yes.
We are going to make you do, instead of a display,
Okay.
you're going to do a bonsai,
Okay.
tropical bonsai.
Tropical bonsai.
So you're going to be one of the speakers alongside with Mr. Kobayashi.
What an honor.
What do you think about bringing Kobayashi to this side of the world again? I don't know how long, when was the last time Kobayashi was in the...
Stateside? I don't know the answer to that question. It might have been somewhere in California, maybe 5, 7, 8 years ago. But it's been quite some time.
So, do you think it's important to bring someone like Kobayashi to a show like this?
I think it's a wonderful opportunity. It's a wonderful opportunity for every single bonsai enthusiast in Puerto Rico. And being so close to the mainland, I wouldn't be surprised if you would get quite a few people stateside flying to Puerto Rico.
Well, actually, we have already some people sign up from Florida, and I have people calling from Mexico, Guatemala, Panama, that are planning to come here.
Sure.
St. Croix, Virgin Islands. So I hope that we could get, instead of being a national show, it will become again an international.
International show, sure.
Yeah.
And that would be fantastic.
Good. Then, what brings you this time to Puerto Rico?
This time to Puerto Rico. Apparently, cheap labor.
Very cheap labor.
Very cheap labor. No, actually, I came here to build my friend a traditional Japanese tokonoma here in his new studio. Formal tokonoma here at Futagu Bonsai. And I arrived here, Wednesday? Last week.
You were here Wednesday noon.
Yes, and as things progressed, building it, running into some things that we weren't aware of, kind of threw my schedule back a bit. So I had to actually, Pedro called American Airlines and added a couple extra days to stays to get things finished. So Friday.
Hopefully we will have it finished for Friday. We are not going to show the progression yet until it's finished.
Yeah.
Now, we got some pictures that Diego is going to show us of the tokonomas and other pictures you picked to show. Let's see the first one, Diego. Now, what we see here?
What we see here is a traditional formal tokonoma. This is actually in my new bonsai school.
This is actually very similar to what you're doing here.
It is. It is very similar. This is a tokonoma that I've kind of copied from some people in Japan. There was a gentleman who was a member of the old Cato study group that Takayama started back in the 90s, and he was one of the original members, and often Morimai and myself would go visit him, and we'd spend hours in front of Tokonoma changing out displays and scrolls and anything from suiseki to plants to trees to objects. And this is one I built 3 years ago in Marysville, Pennsylvania, and this is an exact replica of the one in Hanyu City that was owned by Mr. Nagishi.
Okay, let's talk about that one in particular. You got like 2 rooms there. 2 separate tokonomas, or?
No, it's one tokonoma.
It's one full tokonoma. Okay.
It's one complete
Let's
tokonoma.
talk about the left side first.
Okay.
So left side is where the main exhibit will be.
Yes, that is the traditional way of doing it. The largest area would be the main area that we display the main object in the tokonoma. And then what we refer to as like the sub-tokonoma, or an extension of the original tokonoma, is just a part of the overall display.
You could use it or you could not use it. You don't have to have something on that cabinet, or you should have.
No. And it's a lot of people not to realize that bonsai display, suiseki display, ikebana display is a personal thing. It's up to me. I'm the one that is creating the display for people to view. And what do you say? Yeah.
You keep it not on your, because every time you move.
Oh.
Okay, now.
How's that? Sorry.
Excellent.
Sorry, technician here yelling at me. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back to display, and like I said earlier, whether it's bonsai display, suiseki display, ikebana display, it's a personal endeavor. You're showing your items to the people that are going to view them. So it is pretty much a personal concept.
The window on the left.
Yes.
That is, I have seen tokonomas without that.
Yep.
And I have seen tokonomas with that.
Yes, this is, some refer to it as a Buddha window. It's just another dimension of the overall tokonoma. In this particular image, there's nothing placed there. Often you'll see perhaps what we call the okimono, which is a large 10K of whatever it could be. It could be an animal, a person, something of bronze or ceramic. And, again, we're creating that part of the universe that we want people to look at and appreciate and come to their own conclusion.
So this is a formal display.
This is formal.
What is the difference between formal and informal tokonoma?
Well, it's a great question. The 3 basic types of display in Japan are formal, semi-formal, and informal. In Japan, it's shin, gyo, so. And this particular tokonoma is what we call shin, which is formal. This is a formal tokonoma that you would traditionally see in a house in Japan. And the difference between the 3 basically is what we call the tokubashira. The tokubashira is that
main pole in the center.
The main post there in the center of the photograph, and in formal display they are square in shape.
And on the informal?
Informal, semi-formal. We'll go formal, semi-formal, informal. So semi-formal, it's basically the same concept, except the tokubashira, the post is round. Round without bark. It's usually smooth and round, and it's straight as an arrow.
Straight.
Very straight, right.
And then the informal, it's anything else.
The informal, yeah, it's kind of in a league of its own, because it's very, to this day, it's still basically very primitive, very, I don't want to say homemade, but the Tokubashira in a informal tokonoma is a tree trunk or branch that has movement within it and is also still covered with bark. But generally we don't see bonsai displayed that way because the informal tokonoma is traditionally used in the Japanese tea ceremony, so you'd find that in a tea house, often in temples and places as such.
So on most, you would say that in most cases, masters in Japan have formal tokonomas or informal or semi-formal.
Yeah, usually it's formal and semi-formal.
Not informal, all right.
Like I said, informal is something that really doesn't have much to do with bonsai per se because we never see bonsai in a traditional tea house in Japan.
What about the size of the tokonoma? It's different. It's more or less certain size all the time.
The only real requirement with a formal or semi-formal is the size of the tatami mat, and generally it works in 1 meter sections. So this particular one is actually 9 feet by 3 feet, so it's 1.5 tatami. I've seen at Mr. Kato's nursery in Omiya, he's got a beautiful tokonoma, but it's actually 12 feet in length.
It's even longer than that.
It's very, very large. And again, there's no written rule that it has to be this size or this size or this size. And then when we step down to the informal tokonoma, that can go from 24 inches, 30 inches, 28, 48.
So this one have the first one, the main tree, it's almost close to the floor.
It's not. It's 12 inches off the ground.
12 inches.
Yes. So the black piece of wood we see here in the front of that image, that's called tokogamachi, okay? And in a formal tokonoma, they're generally black, okay, a high lacquered black. In a semi-formal, generally it's just wood, a natural wood. There'd be no paint or lacquer, it would be just a natural piece of wood. But in any case, so I built the table so I know how high the table is, and I know how big the tokogamachi is, which is 3.5 inches. The table itself is 7 inches with a 3/4 inch top. So it's close to 12 inches off the floor.
So that means that when you appreciate, or when you go to appreciate this, normally people sit down in front of the tokonoma.
Absolutely. That's the traditional way to view bonsai, suiseki, ikebana in Japan. You're basically 2 meters away from the tokogamachi, which is the front bar of wood, and you're on your knees in a prone position and you're eye level with whatever you're viewing. Larger trees are generally on shorter tables. Medium trees are generally on taller tables. And that all boils down to eye level.
Let's see the next picture, Diego. Oh, who's that?
That was a young guy. That was a young guy from maybe 5, 6 years ago, maybe?
Yep.
Yep.
And that was here.
Yep, that's Puerto Rico, collecting some suiseki on a beautiful, hot day, as always.
We have a question, Amanda.
Yes. The question says, in order to display a bonsai tree, what are the sizes to select based on the Japan rules?
To display them on the tokonoma.
As far as size and what tree you can put in tokonoma, well, traditionally we won't find mame or shohin in tokonoma.
Shohin and mami are not going to be exhibited in tokonoma.
No. So you'll see anything from your
medium size,
all the way up to 48 inches.
48 inches. What about exhibiting on the small side? Will you put a shohin on there?
No.
No. Figurine.
Figurine, accent plant, object.
But not another bonsai.
No.
It will take away from the main.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Next one, Diego.
Go ahead. Okay. This is what we call back in Pennsylvania pitch pine. This was collected about 3 years ago in the mountains, relatively close to my house, maybe 25 minutes away. And it looks very thin and delicate, which it is, but the tree's about 125 years old. Pitch pine is a very unique pine. Most pines have 2 needles or 5 needles. This particular species has 3. And we grow it just as we grow black pine. It'll send out a flush of candles, and you can remove them, and hopefully you'll get a couple other new buds going in different directions, to create, the tree you want or your desire to get.
Let's see the next one, Diego.
We have stars. Jessiquita Walker sent 500 and said, "Can't wait to see the tokonoma. I know it will be spectacular. My respects." Then Ed Trout said, "Hello, guys from Florida." And Savannah Marie said, "Hi, Dad."
Who did?
Savannah.
Savannah. Hello, Savannah. My buddy.
Hello, Ed, and thank you, Jessica, for the stars.
We have more stars from Pablo Avalle, who sent 310.
Thank you, Pablo.
Wonderful.
Again.
Thank you.
Good. Let's see what we have here. What is that?
What is that? This is just an image I took in my informal Japanese tea room, which is located at my bonsai school in Marysville. This is the outside entrance where the tea master would enter into the tatami room, and a beautiful piece of furniture there, which is actually made of mulberry wood, and that piece actually came from Japan.
Next one, Diego. Now, if I learn correctly, that's a semi-formal.
Very good.
It is a semi-formal because the Tokobashira is round.
Right.
All right.
It is round, but there's also another twist to it. Japanese can be very complicated in some of their explanations and so forth. But if you notice the scroll in this particular tokonoma, there's no ribbons at the top. Okay, those ribbons are what we call futai. There's generally 2, and they were initially designed to put pesticides on each of the little whiskers on the end of the ribbon, and as the ribbons would flutter through the breeze, it would disperse the insecticide and keep the flies from doing nasty things to the scrolls. But this is semi-formal. You have Shimpaku juniper, a very simplistic scroll with, not sure the type of bird, but it's related to the scene, and a little Buddha figure on the left-hand side shelf there.
That little window on the left.
Yes.
That's more or less the same that we saw on the other one.
Yeah, they often in the tokonoma when it's built, what they can do or will do is they'll leave a little spot open, and it's basically showing you the interior of the walls of how it's constructed. If we look back in the United States and maybe even Puerto Rico, before drywall was invented, we used lath and horsehair, and then we plastered over it, and that gave us our walls. In Japan, it's basically the same thing, except in this case, they would use bamboo and wine and so forth, vines, and then the mortar would be adhered to the wall.
Manda, you have a question?
Yes. The question says, what are the preferred woods for different parts of tokonoma in Japan? The type of wood.
The type of woods.
That are preferred in Japan.
Yeah. Yep. Cedar.
Cedar?
Cedar. It's always cedar.
And we found cedar for hours.
Yeah, we did, but it didn't come from Japan. It came from South America.
Yeah, and this one is yellow cedar.
Yes.
It was yellow cedar?
That's what they called it.
Yeah, they call it yellow cedar.
But the answer to your question is, traditionally, cedar is always used in building tokonoma. But that being said, there can be variations. There's really no Bible per se that you have to follow when building a tokonoma. And again, I always go back to the story of this is your representation of view in nature of the universe that you are trying to give everyone that when they view it. Um, I'm Japanese trained, so I try to do everything the Japanese way. Some say it's wrong or maybe it's right, but it's the path I chose. And
So what about your experience, the trip that we made to the Puerto Rico wood the other day? We went to pick some pieces of wood
yes,
for special places on the Toconoma,
right.
and I took him to Puerto Rico woods. What was your experience of
Um,
that place?
well, when Pedro asked me to come and build this tokonoma, I was a little skeptical.
That we could not get the wood, the proper
Well,
wood.
that we couldn't get a lot of things that we have back in the States. But we did find a wonderful, I'll call it a wood store, if you will, or just a big industrial wood store. And there was lumber there that I've never seen in my life. There was lots of lumber. The majority of it, I think, was brought in from South America and Africa, but some beautiful woods. And, through Pedro translating, looked, searched high and low, and will this work, will this work, or will this work? And I wanted to get something that was relatively close to the Japanese style of a straight grain wood, and which cedar is. And we were fortunate enough to find a species from, I guess it was from Brazil, that's they call it yellow cedar. Whether it's a true cedar, we don't know, but that's irrelevant. It's beautiful and it will work very well.
And what about the other place?
The other place was pretty interesting. That was my first time, and it was Puerto Rico
Hardwoods.
hardwood, and all the lumber that they sell is all from the island of Puerto Rico. So when devastation hits the island, hurricanes and so forth, and all these trees are knocked down, they're really not good for much of anything because there's really need to make a fireplace to keep warm here in Puerto Rico for sure. So,
So the piece of wood that we bring for the sidewalk, it was Pterocarpus wood.
yes.
Why do you pick that one?
Well, it's native, so it kind of goes with being here in Puerto Rico, so that's kind of cool. The grain and the texture and the color is really, really unique. So I think it'll add that special splendor
It
to
would be an accent on that side.
Yeah, absolutely.
We will show that probably next Tuesday because it's not finished, so we are not going to show anything about the Tokonoma today. Amanda, you have a question, you said? Or
More stars. These ones are from Alexi Javier Rosario, who sent 200.
thank you, Javier, Alexis.
And after that, you have Martin, who said hi, Alexi, who said hi. Yeah.
How many people we have connected?
Currently on Facebook, we have 38, and on YouTube, we have 8.
Good. Okay, let's see the next one, Diego. Now, this is on your studio or this is in Japan?
No, this is Morimai's nursery in Hanyu, Japan, in Sayatama Prefecture. And this tree was brought to the nursery, and I was pretty blown away when I saw this crazy tree.
Is that your brother or that's you? Because that's
that was me.
half your age.
Well, that was probably half an age ago. No, I was probably 2004 or maybe. But anyway, very old Shimpaku, and my task was to remove all the wire that had been on there for literally years. I mean, it was severely biting in. So, yeah, a great tree. It was actually in Kokufuten 4 or 5 years later, so that was kind of cool.
Nice. Next one, Diego. That's Morimai-san.
That is Mr. Morimai, my Japanese brother, as we refer to each other. Yep.
Let's talk about the experience you have when he come to see your nursery. You put your video. I saw your video, and
Yeah.
that was
Well, that was kind of I guess we'll call a life-changing experience. And anyway, Mr. Morimai came to the United States to do some business, and while he was here, he was going to stop and visit with me and go up to Bill Valbanis's and visit with my daughter and so forth. And anyway, him and Peter Warren from the UK tagged along as the interpreter, and he stopped to see me, and he came up the steps, and I had not seen him or been to Japan since COVID, so we haven't seen each other in probably 5.5, 6 years. But in any case, came up the steps, gave me a big hug. We exchanged pleasures and so forth, and then we went into my new studio, which he has never seen. And my studio is divided in two parts. One is the working studio where we do workshops and so forth, and then the other part is my formal tokonoma room, consisting of all three styles of tokonoma. So he was there, and my doors were shut, double doors were shut, and I told Morimai, I said, listen, I said, before you go in, I got a little sentimental and a little emotional, I said to him, I said, I want you to know that behind these doors, everything you see is because of you. Because everything he had taught me over the 18 sometimes going to Japan, I incorporated all that into my tokonomas in my Japanese room. And he was, no. So anyway, I opened him up, he walked in, and he didn't know whether to take his shoes off or not. And anyway, I said, leave the shoes on, and 2 words he said. And one is Sugoi, which is wonderful, and Subarashi is amazing. So said those words as he walked around, so it was a real dream come true. It's when your teacher sees the work you've done, and we all do the same as bonsai instructors or teachers and so forth, and you teach a student how to design a tree, and at first it's like, oh no, that's going to be scary. And as that individual learns and practices his technique, the trees become better and better and better and better. And it's every teacher's goal for their students to outdo the teacher. And unfortunately, there's some bonsai people back in Pennsylvania where they don't get that. They don't get that at all.
Not only in Pennsylvania, here too. And let me tell you, that's exactly the reason, the same reason that Morimai mentioned that it was fantastic.
Yeah.
That's the reason you are here also.
Okay.
Because I know about your work. I have seen your work. I was there.
Thank you. Yes.
And I saw your place. And I always wish to have something, that special. And finally, because we do the one before on the old studio.
Yes.
But it was not a formal.
No.
It was an informal, actually. Well, the first one was informal.
No, it was semi-formal because I had a straight.
It was a semi-formal.
Yeah. Although we did have a big chunk of something you got from.
Yeah, well, that's the first one.
Galapagos Islands or something. I don't know what it was.
What about that photo?
That little adorable creature there, that's Amanda.
And that wasn't the first one you make here.
And Amanda, how old were you in that photograph?
That was a long time ago.
I think you were in school. You were at least kindergarten or first grade. So that's
probably, yeah.
5 or 6 years old. So that's like 15 years ago? Something
Probably.
like that? Yeah.
Next one, Diego?
Yep.
That was a couple of years ago in your place.
Pedro was my first international speaker for my open house, my first official open house in 2000 through 2021?
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago, yeah?
No, wait, this is 25. So it was 22, 2022. Yep.
Wow. Okay, next one, Diego. That was the tree that we showed previously.
Yep.
But that's on your tokonoma.
Yep. This is in the formal tokonoma, versus where we saw. Oh no, we didn't see it in a tokonoma before. It was just me beside it after styling it. If we flash back a little bit, we're talking about that one particular scroll with that had the bird on the stick with that tree, where I said there was no ribbons.
This one have ribbons.
Here you can see ribbons. These are what I mentioned before, the futai that move around during the wind. This is a fantastic scroll, and it's actually a very subtle image of Mount Fuji, and it was gifted to me by somebody in Japan, and it's from the Edo period, probably mid 1880s, um, and it's just an amazing scroll. Works
Good.
well.
Next one, Diego. Okay, that one is an informal, I suppose, because well, or it's semi-formal.
Well,
But that trunk have a lot of.
it does have some slight movement, but it's still relatively straight. But that being said, this is a Facebook friend of mine in Poland, and he's studied bonsai with a gentleman named Nobu-san, who is actually the curator at the Crespi collection in Milan, Italy. And anyway, we met on Facebook and we share ideas all the time and like each other's posts and so forth. Great artist, brilliant guy, very, very fun. You know, he types perfect English. I don't know if he's using a translator or not, but anyway, someday I'd like to have him visit me, or maybe me visit him. It's a nice layout. It's quite small, but that's okay. He doesn't really have any big, large trees, and it's constructed very well. And if I was to give it a critique in comparison to the Japanese aesthetics, the one thing that I notice immediately is you'll notice the tokogabachi, which is the thick board on the bottom. You'll notice that there's actually wood knots in the wood. And in Japan, that's basically a no-no, and it's actually considered poor quality if the wood has knots in it. But overall, it's still a beautiful, beautiful piece.
Right. Next one, Diego.
Okay, now. I don't know where this is from. I think it's somewhere in Europe. An image that I took somewhere.
So Iseki display with a little plant companion and the.
Yeah, that's the name escapes me. It's one of the first flowers that bloom in Japan. It looks like almost like a dandelion. Quite a common accent plant during Kokufuten exhibition, but it's just a very interesting, simplistic display of a suiseki and a plant. I can't make out what's actually in the scroll, but yeah.
Yeah, talking about the scroll. On a formal tokonoma, the scroll always go in the center.
Yes. But that being said, there are people that will shift it left or right. The way I was taught, dead center.
Right.
Always in the center.
Next one, Diego. That is your place.
That is my new place. Yep. Here, I was being interviewed for an upcoming documentary on bonsai in the United States. A gentleman came out and videotaped me. This was a few days after my open house in Pennsylvania.
Okay. Next one.
This is the formal tokonoma we saw in one of the first slides. This is the frontal view. Not a very good exposure there, but my apologies for that. Again, this is just something thrown together. I don't want to say quickly. I was done during the super moon or the blood moon or something, which was last month or the month before. And that suiseki on the left there was actually not supposed to be there, but that is actually my stone that's going to be at the exhibition at the Kokufuten exhibition in February. And
all right.
So.
Next one. All right. That's from Japan, definitely.
Definitely from Japan. These gentlemen here were the core of what we call the Kato study group in Japan. Its founding member, which was a gentleman named Mr. Takayama. As you see him, he's kind of in the center there in the light gray suit. And he actually started this club or group at the young age of 84. And one of the most recognizable outcomes of this was the 3-volume book. It's green hardcover, and there's 3 different books. It's a collection. It's quite expensive now if you go to buy it. It's no longer in print. But some of these are gentlemen of past. Looking quickly, there's Mr. Nagishi on the far right, or my left, front row. He's the gentleman that the tokonoma we've emulated here, as well as my place. Mr. Sudo is in there. A few Suzukis, not the Suzuki we know of or aware of. There's also a Kobayashi in there, but he is not Kinyo Kobayashi, although Mr. Kobayashi was in fact a member of the Kato group.
So right now in Japan, Kobayashi is the head of the Kato group?
Yes, yes. Mr. Kobayashi, for those of you that don't know, he's right now at the top. He is the president of the Nippon Suiseki Association. He is also the head member of, which was the Kato group, which is now the Genko Kai group, and of course a world traveling bonsai artist, and you know the beautiful museum he has. So yeah, so it's a big deal, folks, that Kobayashi-san's coming to Puerto Rico. It's a big deal. You know, there's three basic headliners that come from Japan, and you know, number 1 would be Kimura, Kobayashi, and Shinji Suzuki. They're the 3 biggest travelers.
Shinji was here already.
Yeah.
But Kobayashi no.
Yep. So maybe Kimura's next. Who knows?
Who knows? Next
But,
one, Diego. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. Now you got a better sense of it, don't you?
Oh, yep.
Yeah. So this particular image, it's actually a tokonoma in Europe that Danny used from
Belgium?
Belgium, yes, he's from Belgium. He had just had this built into his bonsai nursery, and very good craftsmanship. And you notice the roof on the front, or the roof line that's overseeing the tokonoma, and that was added because the space above the tokonoma was empty, and it's kind of, without giving it away, it's kind of the same situation that I'm in here. So I'm thinking about doing something this for Pedro's tokonoma, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Yep.
Good. Next one, Diego. That's again on your house?
Yep, that's the same image, only a different angle. We have a Japanese maple. You see in the far right, you'll see the hand-carved 5-story pagoda that I built, and then an accent plant or tossed salad of Pyrithia fern, which is a common fern used in display in Japan.
Next one. That's you teaching on your studio.
Yes, yes. This is actually, I had 26 club members from Rochester, New York come down for a day and a half, and so we did some display workshops and did some other workshops. It was a fun time, and you know, quite often clubs come, and that was basically the whole concept of building this bonsai school, was to bring people to me instead of me having to go to them. But the past 8 weeks, I've been in 7 different places, so it's not working out so well. But, you know, it is what it is, and we do the best we can.
Yep. Next one.
This is interesting. It's not my tokonoma.
It's smaller also.
It is, well, that's 6 foot. The tatami is 6 foot. It's 1 tatami, and then you have the other upper level. This is in Mr. Kobayashi's museum.
Okay. Next one, Diego. Oh, that's Diego.
Diego, are those pom-poms? You look like a cheerleader.
Próxima.
Very nice. Memories, huh? Yep.
That's Morimai's house.
Yes, this is at Morimai's nursery in Hanyu, and this was a task I was given back in 2006, I think. It's an old ume apricot, and he wanted me to carve the front of the tree for him, which I did, and there it is.
Nice work.
Yeah, actually, we think, or I know for a fact that it's now up at the new bonsai exhibition in Hoshuin at the Daitokoji Temple in Kyoto. Yep, great tree.
Nice one, Diego. Oh, we saw that one before,
Yep.
but this one have better lighting.
Yep,
Next one.
same one.
Oh,
Are those movie stars?
I don't know that guy,
Holy
and I
cow.
don't know her.
Holy cow. Boy, oh boy.
That was here, I think, in the work convention, I think.
I think, yeah. I think Iwasaki-san was here with his wife.
It was at 2007, I think.
Yes, yeah.
2007.
Yeah.
Mi barbita negra. Now then we have here a semi-formal suiseki and a figurine.
Yeah, and again, you know, when we display bonsai, whether it's at a club function or your local club's having a public display or something like that, everybody thinks that you have to put everything in as you can. You need to have the scroll, you need to have an accent, you need to have a tree, you know, and this, that, and the other thing. And, you know, the beauty of display in tokonoma is emptiness. So often in the West, we always gravitate to what we always see in, you know, in all the bonsai magazines or, you know, things like that. And you don't need to have 3 items in a tokonoma, you know, where you have, you know, your main display, your accent, and then your scroll. Simplicity is much better. Emptiness is much better than clutter and packing everything in. And theoretically, I wouldn't even need that bronze incense burner there on the right-hand side. It could be nothing, and that would be enough. Because when we view tokonoma display, it is our imagination that comes to the conclusion of the display that that particular individual has presented. Thanks, Diego.
That's on your.
Yeah, this is my tea house, which is actually in my Japanese room. It's 3 tatami mat room, so it's not very big. It's only 6 feet by 9 feet, and here the alcove is the informal tokonoma, and again, the indicator is the tokubashira on the right-hand side, bar covered with movement in it. And there's no tatami in here. This is actually just wood plank. Yep. Yep. Boy, oh boy, are we showing our age or what here, Daddy-O?
Man, that's not you, I know.
Yeah. So this is another gentleman that I had the honor of spending time with and learning from, and this is Mr. Negishi. He's close friends with Mr. Morimai, and again, he's the gentleman's tokonoma, which we're kind of sitting at right now at one of my visits in Japan. We lost him a few years after COVID. Just a wonderful guy, a real treasure.
That's Irene on your.
Yeah, there's Irene in the Japanese room having a beer maybe, or a big glass of wine.
Tea.
Yeah, it is probably tea, yeah. It is probably tea. Yep.
Next one. Yeah, you were talking about simplicity. There you have it.
There you have it. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. So, again, this is when, you would view this and you would just imagine, the mountain range of the Suiseki that you see in front of you, and, you know, obviously we don't know what the exact translation is on the scroll, but I'm sure it pertains to the stone or to the area of it where the stone was located. But again, less is more. And then you can see the Budo window here on the far left-hand side.
Mm-hmm. Next one. Oh, look at that.
Oh my gosh.
That was when we were making the first tokonoma that we made on the old studio.
Yeah, yep.
And Amanda and Diego were playing with the
wood shavings from the planer. Yep. Adorable.
That's another view of your tokonoma, and the far down the informal.
Yep.
Semi-formal.
This is the main part of the Japanese room that I built at the school, and again, when I designed it, I wanted it to be authentic, but I also wanted to utilize it as a teacher's tool. So that was another reason for the 3 different styles of tokonoma, to help students learn and understand the difference between the 3 of them and so on. And knickknacks and stuff that are for sale and stuff like that.
Huh.
Yeah, bonsai. This is an old Blowy juniper from Canada. And I bought this tree from Arthur Skolnick back in the late 90s. And that's an old picture. It looks a lot better today, but yeah, from our friend Arthur Skolnick. Remember him?
He come here a couple of times.
Yep, good man.
Next one, Diego, if we still have some.
Oh, we saw that one.
I think we saw that one already.
Oh, here's a couple. Here, this is part of the Cato group, and you have. Let me see if I can remember these names.
I think Sudo is the one in the center.
Yep, you have Takayama.
Takayama on the left.
Right, he's the founder. You have Mr. Sudo. I don't know who the gentleman in the back is. And then the next to Sudo is Kobayashi.
Kobayashi, young Kobayashi.
Yes, and behind Kobayashi is a gentleman named Suzuki. And Suzuki worked for Mr. Sudo. And actually, yeah. Yep.
¿Tiene una pregunta?
The question says, the scroll could be the main focal point or the point on the composition that you want people to admire?
The only time the scroll is the main focal point is when only a scroll is hanging in the tokonoma. Okay? But very good question. Very good question. So again, this is very simplistic. It's again a setting moon, rising moon, setting sun, early or evening, whatever the case may be, or whatever you want to present to the viewers. This is a Pennsylvania Suiseki from. I actually collected that with Arthur Skolnick. It's ironic as that is, but yeah, great stone.
Next one. Oh, that's the one. That was the last one. Okay.
Boy, I'm glad that's over.
Then we still have 2 more days to finish. You're leaving on Friday. You still have 2 full days of work here.
Yes.
To try to finish that.
Well, no, Pedro. I probably have like 4 or 5 days worth of work, but you're going to force me to do it in 2 days.
In 2 days,
yeah.
Exactly. That means
just like you've done for the past 7 days I've been here already.
No sleep. Anyway, Sean, you're going to be back here in July with Kobayashi.
Yes.
What are your expectations when Kobayashi enters to that door? Because you have to help me set up the display. Because I wish I want to be here when he comes here.
Yeah, well, you should be. I mean, that's very important that you would be.
Yeah. But
if we look at the whole world per se, as we know with social media and TikTok and all those things, that bonsai is everywhere. It's literally on all 4 corners of the earth. Maybe not Antarctica, but it's everywhere. you know, the Far East in Asia, the Philippines, Malaysia, um, Indonesia, all those islands, nations, and then, you know, North America, South America, Central America. Um, Bonsai is popular in Russia, all over Europe, of course. So it's everywhere. But the only time you really see Japanese bonsai in Tokonoma is
when you go to Japan.
when you go to Japan, right? So there's not a lot of,
Well, I definitely have to have something tropical inside there
yeah,
because I want to show what we have here. We don't have pines or junipers.
but that's not the point.
Yep.
You're just using that alcove to display the best trees that you have.
Exactly. I would try to get a scroll that represents our climate. I don't know exactly what I am looking for, but I would try to get something.
No, that's no more than the moon and the waves, a waterfall, beautiful waterfalls in Puerto Rico.
A local suiseki and a local tree.
Yeah.
That's my goal for when Kobayashi gets here. You have a question, Amanda?
Yes, the question is in Spanish. I'm going to read it in Spanish and then try to translate it.
Right.
In Spanish it says, ¿qué elementos de acompañamiento son mejores para formar un relato con los iseki? The question says, what elements would best accompany a suiseki to form like a real story between them?
On a display. What will you put alongside a suiseki?
Um,
Not a bonsai.
Not a bonsai. No,
If the main
if the main subject is your suiseki and you want to display your suiseki, and the gentleman wants to know what should be the companion. Okay. If there is a companion. Okay. Again, you can go back to obviously an accent plant of some sort that would tie into the suiseki. Keeping in mind common sense is the vital importance of display, period, not just tokonoma display, but if you're trying to depict a mountain, a beautiful mountain somewhere, be conscious of the accent plant you select. You know, a miniature rose wouldn't be appropriate because we don't often see roses growing in the mountains. So a lot of common sense has to take place with that. The other can be the tenke or the okimono, which are the bronze figures.
A scroll, probably.
Yeah, well, yeah, obviously a scroll too. And again, the scroll has to, you know, be relevant to the suiseki and vice versa. We always do, in the formal display or any display in bonsai, we never want to duplicate things. We don't duplicate shape, we don't duplicate color, we try not to duplicate texture and subject matter. You know, if you have a bronze figure beside your suiseki, and in your scroll you may have the image of Buddha, well, you've got two human forms.
Similar items, yeah.
You know, it's like if you had a beautiful suiseki that had a waterfall, you wouldn't want to scroll with a waterfall.
With a waterfall.
Because you're the duplications.
Any other questions, Amanda?
Hey, before we go, do you have all the slides that I sent your dad? Okay, what was the one we were just talking about? Because I know I had an image, and I can't think of what it was. The subject we're talking about. Okay, well, it's all right. It's
Anyway.
irrelevant. Yep.
So, my friends, it has been a long day today, a working day,
Yes.
and we want to finish this for today to see if we could show it to the people. It's not possible. We have to extend his stay for 2 more days in order to finish. So next Tuesday, we're going to show the finished product. We are taking pictures and how do you say, time lapse? We have time lapse of the process of the construction.
That'll be great. That'll be
Eventually,
great.
we will try to set up a video of everything. So we will show the final results hopefully next Tuesday. Sean, thank you very much for being
It's always
on
a
this
pleasure.
Trabaja Conmigo. This is something that we do every Tuesday. You happen to be here, so
Yeah, well,
we could not let the chance.
it's perfect. And again, folks watching, you have, pardon me, the opportunity to see Kobayashi.
When he comes. Yeah, when he comes here, Kobayashi is coming, and definitely it's something that we should take the advantage of having, the chance to see him.
All right,
All right, you lost your voice.
I did something.
All right, my friend, see you next Tuesday. Thank you.